Hello. You know who it is. Just a bit of friendly advice actually in this video. And I want to start by talking about myself. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about myself for the whole video, although I would love to. But it's just a bit of advice for people that have just started out in car washing, valeting or detailing. Not so much detailing actually, because a lot of the people around are car washers and they're skipping the learning how to car wash properly, learning how to valet properly, and then moving up to detailing and just starting a business and going straight in and saying, oh, my name, Pat's detailing. No. Okay. So, me, for an example, let me talk you through my life in the industry. So I left school and I went to work straight at a car wash stroke valeting centre. Now, my first 6 months on that firm, the boss said to me, right, this is your job. I'm going to show you how to clean arches, wheels and seals. So all the bottom end of the car, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to come and get you when I feel like it's time for you to move on. And when you've absolutely nailed that, I'm going to come and get you and show you how to do different things also. So for my first 6 months of working at that place, it wanted me to absolutely perfect and have the speed and the knowledge so that any set of wheels I knew what to do with, any set of arches I knew what cleaners to use for the arches, I knew how to clean a seal properly, because it really ruins a good job if the top half of the car looks clean and then the bottom half is still dirty. That is not a decent clean. And you got to think, this was just, we was a car wash back then, so he was going to such extensive detail just at a car wash at that point, when obviously car washes are very different now. You have sort of big triangles of dirt mist out of very visible panels when you go to a car wash now. So it was very different 15 years ago when I first started in this industry. Things were very different. Now, from there, obviously, he came, after I'd absolutely perfected the wheels and seals, he came and said, right, now I'm going to show you how to wash the actual car. So actually, back then, believe it or not, he had a snow foam cannon. We used to buy all of our stuff from AutoSmart back in the day, which is, and I must say, it's a very underrated company for the actual quality of the products. So I just want to shout out AutoSmart, actually. There's many other products that we use. Obviously, other products are available, and he's not in any way paying me to say this. In fact, I didn't use him for a long time, because when I went into detailing, I started picking at other bits, and you find what works for you. But I've recently gone back to buying a few bits from AutoSmart, and I'm actually very impressed with the way that they've progressed with the times, and value for money, you know, what you actually, the quality of the product is actually very underrated. So shout out to AutoSmart. But so then he taught me how to wash the car, snow foaming and all of this. This was all done in my fundamental training. Then we moved on to drying the car properly, proper drying methods. Then we moved on to the interior, hoovering, and basic. I wasn't doing full valets back then. I was doing very basic mini valets, okay? So that's where I started. From there, I moved on. I wanted to do full valets. Now, this centre was moving into painting, and I didn't want to do paint respraying and alloy wheel refurbishment, so I didn't want to do that. I wanted to carry on. I loved washing cars. I loved the idea of polishing cars and getting an interior, you know, taking something that looks like it's ready for the scrap heap really and turning it around into a really nice car. So that was my passion. So I moved along from there. I left there and I went to work at a proper valeting centre, and I wanted to learn how to do a really intricate, detailed valet. Okay, so I spent years doing that. Learned how to do a valet properly. Once I'd absolutely nailed the valet, so you got to think I'd already gone through the fundamentals of washing a car properly. I've gone through hoovering and all of the basic stuff. Then I've moved up. I've gone on to wet extraction, shampooing and wet extracting seats and carpets, intricate detail cleans on the vents, all of the small, hard to reach areas. I learnt what brushes and air lines to use to draw the dirt out, so I can do a full detailed valet now, okay? So then I wanted to learn more. My basic hand polish at this point wasn't enough for me. I was looking at people absolutely perfecting paintwork, taking all the swirls and the scratches out, and I was wondering how it was done. So I moved on again, and I actually started my own valeting business, because I knew how to valet, okay, so I was well within my right to do that, but I didn't call myself a detailer because I wasn't a detailer. So when I started my valeting business, it was actually with he was an old school valeter. So 30 years ago, he was valeting cars. But I said I wanted to learn how to do scratch repairs and everything. So he pulled out this old rotary machine polisher and his old 3M compound, really heavy, aggressive stuff. But that was when I got my foot in the door and I started to learn about machine polishing paint and scratch repairs and things like that. So I went for a few years learning the art actually with a rotary polisher, and the finishes weren't that great, but in the shade they looked great. But the more I went along, the more I learned. It looked great in the shade, but when you pulled it out in the sunlight, in certain lights, you could see where I'd been with the buffer. So I hated that, and I spent quite some time trying to navigate my way, all with the rotary polisher, before I realised how important dual action polishing was. I was trying to start from the aggressive, then go to the medium, then go to the fine. But even when you do this process with a rotary polisher, the finished product is almost perfect, but just in them tight corners where you can't really get to properly, there was still etching from the heavy cutting stage, and even sometimes depending on which paintwork I was working with, even the really fine sort of finesse finishing touch compound and the really soft polishing, light polishing or spreading wax sort of heads was still leaving a little bit of haze on the paintwork if you was working with soft paintwork. So that was no good to me then. I needed to move on and learn more. So I took myself, bearing in mind I'd already been running my valeting business and practicing machine polishing techniques for around 7 years at this point. So I decided to take myself on I paid for myself to go on a 2-day detailing course with G-Technic. And what this was is I actually started from the very bottom again. So it was going back to safe washing techniques and things like that, interiors, which obviously I could do with my eyes shut, but you never stop learning. Although they didn't actually teach me anything that I hadn't already thought about or hadn't already put into practice about washing and interiors, when we moved on to the machine polishing, there was a few things that opened my eyes, a few different polishing pads that I hadn't worked with before, and there was a few different compounds and things like that. I've missed something out of the story actually. I'd been up to see another detailer who had showed me a Rupes Mark III dual action machine, and he showed me how to operate it and showed me what pads and compounds to use to actually get a perfect finish and actually do a paint correction. So after this, I'd already bought that machine and practiced that, and I was correcting paint extremely well. I still wanted to learn more, and I wanted to have the certification to show my clients, look, I have invested money in myself and into you, because if I am better at the job, you in turn are going to get a better job on your car. So I took myself on the course. I learnt things about dual action polishers that I didn't know before. I learnt things about polishes and compounds that I didn't know before. I learnt things about machine polishing pads, wool pads, microfiber pads and foam pads, the difference in heat, the difference in cutting, and the difference in between different paint types. So I left there absolutely refreshed and feeling good about carrying on and calling myself a detailer. So there was 15 years it had been from starting at the very bottom, then I went to the middle, and now I'm not at the top. Okay, there is people above where I am, and we all say that we're the best. Of course we're going to have a biased opinion of ourselves. It's who we are. We choose to work for ourselves, so therefore we think we are the best. Otherwise we'd work for somebody else. But the point I'm trying to get across is that there was so much fundamentals and groundwork and training and investment. I've even been on I went on a Rupes a certification day, and learnt more about the actual Rupes polishing system. I'm accredited by Keisho Ceramic Coatings UK. I'm partnered with Custom Detailing, who are accredited by Gyeon Ceramic Coating Suppliers. They're an international ceramic coating company. So as it happens, from all of this fundamental training, it's opened a lot of doors for me. My certification shows that I am actually a trained, certified operator, and the work that I produce, I put my heart and soul into because I love it. To stay in this industry for so long, you must have a certain level of passion for the job. So what really it bugs me when detailing companies just pop up out of nowhere. You can clearly see by the pricing, the methods, the actual before and after pictures, and the way that they're talking, they've only just started, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We all started somewhere and we built our way up to the top. But for me to just leave my job or whatever it may be and say, you know what, I'm going to be a detailer, and just call myself Pat's Detailing on the first day when you actually know nothing about detailing, it's very dampening. It causes damage actually to the detailing name as a whole, because they're looking at maybe if I talk about someone who's above me, like AM Details, Jim at White Details, anyone like that, they're obviously charging a high level of money because they operate at a high level and you get a high level of service. And then they then go to someone who's just started their detailing company and they're saying that they can machine polish, but like me back then, I thought I was doing a good job, but in reality I wasn't, because there was a lot to learn. And luckily I was always open to learn, and I have found myself operating at a, you know, in between the middle and professional now is where we are. We would put ourselves in that category. So we're not at the top, but we're certainly not in the middle or anywhere close to the bottom. So there's such a difference in pricing, and customers that haven't got a lot of education on detailing, it then makes it really difficult for people like me and people at the very top to explain why our quote is maybe £2, £3, £4, maybe sometimes £1,000 more expensive than someone else who's claiming to do the same job, but they have no training, no certification, no accreditation, not the right materials, not the right practices, and some of them actually are just doing it for money. I've noticed a lot of people, they just want to bish bash bosh. Detailing is a very slow process. I look at it as mind therapy. It really helps me to get in front of a panel that's absolutely ruined and perfect it back to brand new. That's what I do. That's part of the fundamentals of what I love doing. Also, when I do a seats out, like a real intricate detail, we take the seats out, we take the wheels off, we deep clean the suspension springs, the arches are flushed, we do under chassis clean, so we jack the car right up, physically get underneath the car, pressure wash. We've got a actual chassis cleaner that goes onto the pressure wash on a trolley, that under the car. All them really intricate detail things I really enjoy doing. And these people that have just started, which is fine, but make that clear in your company name and in your services list. So as I say, when I first started my own company, I was machine polishing, but I wasn't a professional machine polisher. I knew how to valet, but I didn't actually necessarily know how to detail. So it was really important for me to show myself exactly how I was and just call myself Master Valets, because I was just a valeter. I was just at the very start of learning how to machine polish and even decontamination washes and things like that. I was still at the very start of that side of things, of moving into the learning about detailing. So yes, advice really, if you're just starting out, don't call yourself a detailer, because it will cause a detrimental actually effect on other detailers and also you, because if someone's ever had a detail before and then you turn up claiming to be a detailer and they think, oh great, this is going to be £150 cheaper than the last guy and he's going to do the same job, and you don't do what you're advertising, then you've caused trouble for yourself and your own company. So just be very mindful of that. And this is just advice. I'm not telling you what to do. We're all big boys. We'll do what we want at the end of the day. But I think it's very important to show yourself with no smoke screen, no mirrors. Tell it exactly how it is, and it will help you and not damage the industry as a whole. Anyway, I've been rambling for almost 15 minutes. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it has given you a bit of insight into who I am, why I do what I do, and the passion I've got to actually progress to even further than we are now. Because although we've got, you know, we've got the studio now, we've got the valet bay next door, we've got storage, we've got a wash bay. It's only a canopy wash bay, but it's still a bit more enclosed. A lot of detailers are still washing their cars outside. there's still a long way to go. So we've come a very long way from where we started, myself and my business partner. But there's still a long way to go, and we're ready. We're all set. We're strapped in for the journey. So I just hope that someone can take something useful away from this video, maybe use it to build up to where we are, or make the decision to actually it's not for everyone, detailing. So if you just want to smash it out, get it done and get your money, this is not the industry for you, and you shouldn't be calling yourself a detailer if volume has taken over the actual quality of the work that you provide, because detailing is a very slow, intricate, interesting process. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to see you all soon. Any comments, if you want any advice or anything like that, or even if you disagree with something I've said, I'm all ears. Give me a comment. I'm happy to engage with anyone and everyone. I know this video is going to get up some people's noses. Unfortunately, this is just the way I feel, and this is the way that I see myself in the industry, and it's just my personal opinion. So I'm happy to engage with everyone. Obviously, silly foul language comments will just be ignored, but if anyone's actually happy to engage and have a conversation, I'm happy to do that. See you all soon.